Police survivors remember their loved ones who've made the ultimate sacrifice. We'll hear from them this half hour.
Law enforcement students soar to new heights with an interactive instructor. We'll find out what makes her so popular.
Hello, and thanks for joining us for this edition of Lake Area Beat. I'm Ron Hawkins.
And I'm Tracy Minarchek. May is a month to remember the officers who've died in the line of duty, both at our nation's capital and closer to home.
Fellow officers and the loved ones left behind gathered to pay tribute to those who've sacrificed their lives to protect our safety.
Mike Duzon said, who was a nephew of Joe's and also a police officer, said, "My Uncle Joe's death doesn't make him a hero, his life makes him a hero." Today we gather to honor Sergeant Bergeron and his ultimate sacrifice.
Every time I come to this memorial, I have to chuckle a little bit because it shows Joe with his tie properly affixed to his collar, and I don't know if I've ever seen him with his top button buttoned and the tie where it's supposed to be.
Maplewood Police Department. Joseph Bergeron, end of watch, May 1, 2010.
Everyone loved Joe. Joe was the kind of person that everyone wanted to sit next to. He wasn't a class person. He didn't care how rich or how poor. He was just that kind of person that liked to help people.
We're here supporting the family and remembering Joe, what he stood for and what kind of a guy he was.
Walter Housing, end of watch, January 6th, 1955.
He slid on some very slippery road and hit a big boulder. When he went off the road, and the steering wheel crushed his chest. That's how he ended his watch.
It was tough growing up without a dad because, other kids that we played with and whatnot all, went to school with and buddies in school time, they had their parents and they were hunting or fishing or going to a cabin or whatever, Well, we didn't have that.
We're not all cut out to be law enforcement, but those that are special.
We have a lot of policemen in our family, and maybe in a selfish way, I don't want anyone to be forgotten. And it's important to pray for those policemen who are out there every day putting their life on the line. And so when tragedy happens, you just don't want people to forget any of them.
It's great to hear survivors share their memories. Well, there are some new additions to the fire department.
Let's head to Station 2, where we spent some time with one of our latest recruits. Okay, we're back, and we've got Casey Bankin with us. Welcome to the show, Casey.
Thank you.
So let's hear a little bit about you and where are you from?
All right, I'm originally from White Bear Lake. I'm 24 years old. Grew up in White Bear Lake and been living here my entire life besides going to school, and just joined the fire department because it's something I've always wanted to do.
Okay, so when you were a little kid, you would see the fire trucks and you'd say, hey, I want to do that sometime?
Absolutely. I can't imagine any other way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, how about, so for a career, have you ever thought about being an EMT or a firefighter full-time?
Actually, that was something that I thought about, but now that I joined, it's something that I'm really putting some thought into, and I'd like to do it if possible.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Great. Excellent. And White Bear Lake Fire Department is a good opportunity to get some training in and that sort of thing. Tell us about, I know when somebody first gets on the department, they're in school. They're in EMT school, and you are a firefighter also.
Yep.
So you're not only going to EMT school, but you're going to firefighter school. How has that been going for you?
It was a little intense at first. It was a lot getting thrown at me, but you get in the swing of things, and you can always ask people around here for help. Everyone here went through it. They know what you're going through, so I mean, it's kind of been seamless. It was a little tough at first, but now you get used to it, like I said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Has there been anything in particular on the job that has been more difficult, or something that really kind of surprised you?
It was just, the most difficult part was when I first started. I mean, you just kind of get thrown into it, and you get a little backup information, like this is what you should expect, but still, I mean, you kind of freaked out on your first ambulance ride, and then after a while, you just kind of get used to what's expected of you on the runs, and it's actually really fun. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you learn to enjoy it.
Now, you've been on the ambulance quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Have you been on any big fire calls at all yet?
I wouldn't say big fire calls, but I've been on some fire calls. Haven't been doing much on them, but I mean, it's awesome just to ride on the truck, I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
Yeah, it's something not a lot of people get to experience.
Now, it seems as though people on our department, they kind of gravitate towards the fire side or the ambulance side. They got a real passion for putting out fires, and they're okay on the ambulance. What about you?
At first I thought I was gonna be, all fire and just, do the ambulance, but the ambulance is awesome. I mean, yeah, you spend most of your time on it, so you gotta like it. So I gotta say, I'm pretty much in between. I'd have to go fire if I had to choose, but I mean, I enjoy ambulance just the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, great. Now, a little off-the-wall question. What's your favorite dance, and how do you perform it? No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, thank you. That's the last thing I need to do.
Okay, I'm out of here. No, how about, I want to ask you about a superhero. If you could be any superhero, who would you be?
I gotta say The Flash. I mean, don't ask me why, I just like the idea of being really fast.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
And don't ask you why.
Yeah, well, I normally I'd say Superman or something, but The Flash is the man.
Yeah. Well, you heard it from Casey Bankin.
Yeah.
Thanks for being on the show, Casey.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, back to you.
When we come back,
we'll find out how an area teacher is taking her students to new heights.
It's time for the first and best part of the summer. 2 weeks of fun and festivity during Manitou Days in White Bear Lake, June 19th through July 4th. Join your friends for more than 60 events, kicking off with Market Fest on Thursday, June 19th. Take in the Grand Day Parade on the 20th. Then stick around for a rockin' good time dancing the night away at Memorial Beach. Join your neighbors at the Community Picnic on the 21st. Then bring your pooch to the 10th Annual Pet Parade the next day. Enjoy 4 days of fun at the Family Carnival starting on the 26th. And take a stroll through the Antique Boat Show on the 28th. And something new, the Pub Crawl for a Cure, to benefit breast cancer research happening around town on the same day. And top off the 2-week celebration with the spectacular 4th of July fireworks display over White Bear Lake. Make it memorable this summer during Manitou Days, June 19th through the 4th of July.
law enforcement students in Mary McGuire's class get a great deal of exposure to police and fire work.
We're going to talk with her in just a couple of minutes, but first, here's what makes her classes so popular.
Right away you have the initial fear that you're just going to fall, and it was good, I think, to get over that fear by going down.
This is the first fire-related one we've done, but this is probably the scariest or most frightening. Once you get to the top and you stick your heels over the edge, it gets a little bit more frightening. And then looking down is probably the scariest part.
I think this will prepare me to, I guess, have more confidence in what I'm doing instead of second guessing all the time, and just have faith in others to make sure that they're going to be there for you, whether or not it's something dangerous or just a simple conversation.
And instructor Mary McGuire now joins us. Mary, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you for this opportunity.
So let's start out with hearing about your career. Where did you start public safety?
I started at the Cottage Grove Police Department as a CSO, Community Service Officer, paramedic. So I was the paramedic before I got into any type of the law enforcement. So I started there and was there a couple years, and Cottage Grove decided to take the group of CSOs and say, do you want to go do your law enforcement degree and become police officers? And I said, absolutely.
And they said they'd pay for it.
Hey, even better, even better. So, but again, it was work, school, family. So now I look back and go, how did I do that? But anyways, continued. I was at Cottage Grove for 14 years as a police officer, paramedic. Greatest job in the world.
And so at some point you transitioned into teaching. How did that kind of transpire?
You know, it was, I started to think every day I get a day older, which just happens, and I thought, there's a lot of great opportunities and careers out there, and if I want to do something different, I better get going and look at it. And while I was at Cottage Grove, I was hit by a car. Which it turned out everything was fine. I recovered from my injuries.
And the car recovered?
It did. Okay, I was shooting a deer. The deer didn't recover. But that kind of gave me a chance to take some time to think, and I was finishing up my 4-year degree. And so Northeast Metro had an ad in the paper. They were going to start a new program, law enforcement. And I thought, let's give it a shot and see what happens. So I got hired, and they said, write a curriculum. And on the outside, I went, okay, I will do that. On the inside, I went, what? So this is my 10th year of teaching. It's kind of my baby, and it's another greatest career. So there's a lot of them out there.
And how do the two jobs compare, or do they?
Well, absolutely, okay.
They
do. Law enforcement is definitely educating the public. It's not just the, go out and catch the bad guys and give tickets and that. It's education, communication skills, dealing with people. So there's a lot of similarities. Big difference is when I'm in front of the classroom, they're all looking at me going, okay, what are we going to do today?
Well, as far as educating the police officer students, I imagine that some of them may come into the class thinking, okay, yeah, this is what police work is all about. We're about, every call is saving people and, doing all these heroic things. Do you get that? Is there some students that come in that may not have a full grasp as to what police work is really all about?
Absolutely. And you know where they get their idea of what police work is.
TV.
Is from TV, and I admit too, I watch the cop shows too. But on the cop shows, they may see an officer going to the call and doing the call, but then they don't see the hour of paperwork and reports and that kind. So no, they definitely have some misconceptions as what's involved in law enforcement. They don't realize all the medicals that police officers go on and have to have those type of skills. So, and definitely the communication skills that you need.
Okay. So what would you say is I would imagine that there's some students that just don't make it. Either they drop out altogether or they're just not up to par as far as going through the class. Is there kind of a general percentage as to how many might go all the way through and work as a police officer versus the ones that
Well, this is year 10 for me. So I have kind of a a wall of fame. It's got all the class photos on there, and then the top row is those who are sworn police officers. And my current count is 13 who are sworn police officers in either the state of Minnesota or a surrounding state. I have a former student who's at White Bear Lake, Officer Mike Selner.
Okay.
He was one of my students. And 2 of your CSOs were my former students. And I think I have about 5 who are working as CSOs, going through school and want to be police officers. I have students who have started the course, and I'll say, what's your career goal as of now? And they may say, I had one time that said, I want to be a landscape architecture person. I said, what's this got to do? He said, I just want to learn about the law and the skills there. So,
Oh, that's respectable.
yeah, a lot of things we do in class are lifelong skills that they can use.
Have you ever run into any of your former students out and about?
Hopefully not behind me with red lights and sirens on. I always ask him, would you give me a ticket? But it's so much fun to see them come into the classroom, and they've got their uniforms on, and they're very proud, and I'm very proud of them, you know, that I had maybe this much influence on them to, thank you, to kind of help them along their way. I really, really, really stress networking to them. To get out there, talk to people. I know if anyone asks either of you about your job, you love your job and you're happy to tell them about it. Mm-hmm. So, and sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Well, we're running out of time, but is there one thing that you know, a message that you have for the students that you have? Something that you want to instill in them for their career?
The big thing I want to instill in them, no matter what career you go into, is professionalism. In fact, it's in big letters in the front of my classroom. Show up on time, do your job, treat people nicely, as you know, like you want to be treated, and just take advantage of opportunities.
Yeah, well,
And
that
that's
sounds
great
good.
for any career that anybody goes into.
Absolutely,
Good
especially
advice.
police officers. You're not only representing yourself, but you're representing the department that you work for, the city, the
Yes.
county, or whoever it may
Yes.
be.
State and police officers everywhere, really.
Yes, and your actions are going to reflect.
Well, thank you very much.
All right, well, thank you very much.
It's fun having you on.
Stop by the classroom anytime.
We'll do that.
We will. We're going to take another break, but when we come back,
We'll find out how a community came together to help law enforcement families in need.
welcome back. Christine Crittenden has channeled the grief of her husband's death nearly 5 years ago into helping others.
And she's found overwhelming support from her law enforcement family. Here's a look at the first ever Thin Blue Line Memorial Vehicle fundraiser.
We're always there to support one another in whatever cause. It's kind of personal to us.
It's been nearly 5 years since North St. Paul police officer Richard Crittenden was killed in the line of duty. But a tight-knit community is remembering him while helping other families in need.
I've heard a lot of, stories about my husband as far as, when I called Rick, he did this, or, I remember him from here. So that's also a healing process. And I feel that in helping other people, you do heal yourself.
Christine Crittenden bought her husband's squad car after his death and wondering what to do with it, happened to cross paths with a retired officer looking for a way to give back.
I was all primed and ready to do something. I didn't know what. And then she had this vehicle that she was trying to figure out what to do with. So that's how it was all created.
The Thin Blue Line Memorial Vehicle honors Richard and all Minnesota officers killed in the line of duty. Christine travels with the car, bringing awareness to dangers officers face every day. Although people have generously donated their time and resources, they're still out-of-pocket expenses. The first fundraiser for the Thin Blue Line Memorial Vehicle will not only support costs of the car, but also extends additional help through a new program, Helping Hands. Ron Kanoki, owner of Advanced Graphics in Vadnais Heights, donated his services to design and wrap both the memorial vehicle and the Helping Hands bus. He says it's the least he can do for Christine.
We're very family orientated, and you know, for what happened to her and her family, I couldn't imagine if that happened to my family. And the bottom line is, even some of my competition, once tragedy happens, they're trying to profit off of that. That's not what we're all about.
Nearly every table at the fundraiser was occupied by a law enforcement group or nonprofit, a reminder that this community shares in both victories and tragedies.
The whole process has been bittersweet. You know, it started with Rick's death, and I deal with that every day, every moment.
If you'd like to learn more about how you can get involved or donate, log on to the Memorial Vehicles website. For 100 years, the Stillwater Prison in Bayport has operated in the same building, but has managed to change with the times.
Here's a look behind its walls.
Stillwater Prison has been operating in the same building 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. For 100 years, Warden Michelle Smith worked at the women's prison in Shakopee before coming to Stillwater, now managing over 1,600 male inmates.
But I find them to be respectful, and working with men can sometimes be sometimes easier than working with women.
Although most crimes committed by inmates at Stillwater are violent, it's a level 4 closed security prison, Oak Park Heights being the only maximum security facility in Minnesota. Smith says because most offenders will get out, it's important they're offered educational opportunities and treatment programs on the inside.
Most of our offenders are going to be released at some point, and they're here for a certain period of time or stay. So they need to have the ability to make better choices, and we're hoping that the things that we do for them here are giving them options for those better choices.
Education is paid for by MnCore or donated through grants. Inmates can earn an associate's or bachelor's degree, and the more inmates take advantage of programs, the more privileges they receive.
Those open and close the windows. Yep, in the summer we come by with a big crank.
Unlike more modern utilitarian facilities, Stillwater has a Victorian charm. Each cell block is 3 floors high.
They outnumber us.
And houses 284 inmates. Staff conduct routine lockdowns to check for contraband, and even though security is tight, it does find its way in.
Things that are maybe thrown over the wall, sometimes things are smuggled in, sometimes things come in through the mail, sometimes they make things.
Inmates are allowed visitors 4 days a week, but cannot touch during the visit to prevent passing of contraband.
They're allowed to embrace and kiss on the cheek.
Although staff says there isn't a great deal of violence, there are still issues with gangs, otherwise known as security threat groups. About 45% of inmates in Stillwater are black and 43% are white, with the average age being 36.
The longer you're here, the more comfortable they are with you.
Yeah.
And then you are somewhat with them.
On a typical weekday shift, 65 officers are assigned in the main building. They also employ a canine guard used to perform cell searches and inmate transports. With over 1,600 inmates, it's important to keep them active. Inmates have access to a gym they pay for through wage deductions and amenities, so no tax dollars are used. And Minnesota is a mandatory to work state. In Stillwater Prison, there are more inmates than jobs available.
We don't want obesity, and
the prison serves inmates 1,800 calories a day, and they've been progressing toward healthier meals in order to avoid health care costs resulting from obesity and heart disease.
we have to make those transitions very gradually because food is very important to the offenders.
Staff describes the prison as its own little city, complete with a health clinic and chapel. And although sentences range dramatically based upon the crime, the average length being 105 months, the hope is the opportunities provided behind these walls will prepare offenders to reintegrate into society. In Stillwater, this is producer Mary Klein with photographer Nick Anderson.
We're just about out of time for this month's show, but we leave you with a look at how kids with autism are kicking their way to confidence.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Participating in sports can be a challenge for kids with special needs, but a Woodbury Karate School is giving those kids a chance to kick their way to the top. JK Martial Arts specializes in teaching kids with autism and ADD.
Many times there's tightness in their muscles, so it increases their flexibility. Many times there's a balance issue, so it helps them with their balance. Many times they're not real strong, and so it helps them with their strength. And actually in their mind-body connection, understanding where their body is in space, it's really helpful for that also.
Catherine Engstrom is the sensei, or head instructor at JK Martial Arts. She owns a school with her mom, Joyce Brecky, and loves teaching kids of all abilities.
I get a reward every single day coming into class and seeing the students that have challenges with their bodies, and even seeing them do jumping jacks for the kids that that motor planning is really hard, and having the parents come up to me and say, I never thought my kid could do X, Y, and Z, and they're doing X, Y, and Z. And that is something that you can't put a price tag on.
Joshua, a student at JK Martial Arts for over a year, tells us his favorite part of studying karate.
I guess it's pretty fun to learn the new moves, especially when you master them.
JK Martial Arts tailors their teaching to each student's individual needs.
To experience success is absolutely so important in life. If we experience success, then we can build on that and become better at everything. So when the kids come, it's absolutely crucial that Sensei and I give them compliments and assure that they succeed in every class. So every time they come to class, they succeed. And to see their face light up because they're successful is absolutely amazing.
JK Martial Arts holds classes in both Woodbury and St. Louis Park. For more information, visit their website at jk-martial-arts.com.